Hello, this is video 2 and we're gonna revise how to analyze the purpose of a source. So I mentioned in my previous video, I added a question in the SBQ question 5, set 5, so that I can go through what is the purpose of a source. Okay. Now in the previous source, in the previous video, I told you all what is the message of the source. And I also gone through source A very quickly. So I'm just gonna quickly show you our source A again. Okay, so source A, okay, we have already guessed what is the message of the source. Okay, now remember very quickly, purpose of the source. What do I need in the purpose answer? Purpose, we give you the acronym PACMAN. Okay, and we need to obviously evidence and explain our answer. So what does the PACMAN refers to? So PACMAN refers for your purpose verb, which means to convince, to persuade, this kind of thing. Who's the audience? Okay, and you notice there's the other A also. So who's the author? Okay, what's the context? What was the situation when the source was being published? Okay, what is the message, which is what we covered in the previous video? What's the main thing the source is trying to say about the topic? Whether should government restrict immigration? What is the source message about this? And very importantly, for purpose, we always want to include our new outcome. And I want to emphasize new outcome refers to an action to be taken by your audience. Okay, and obviously you also want to see some sort of impact. What is the impact? Okay, so what action should your audience take to create what kind of impact? Okay, so there are two parts to it: action and impact. Okay, so previously we look at source A. We in the previous video we learned that okay, the message of the source is very straightforward. We should not restrict immigrants because it will affect migrants. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the sample answer for the previous video on message, and I'm gonna show you what else we need to add to make it a normal purpose answer. Okay, but before I show you the answer, let me show you the template very quickly. Okay, again, the template is found on page 9 onwards of your revision booklet. You can see the rough template for inference, purpose, comparison, all your skills basically. I'm going to cover them in each of these video. But just a reminder, the template is just a guide. If you are used to using other words besides these templates, please feel free to go ahead, as long as some of the things that we are looking for at the side here, you include it. I don't think it really matters how you choose to write or how you choose to order your answers. Sometimes some of you like to write your context first, some of you like to write the message and new outcome first. It's really up to you. Okay, so I'm just going to show you this very template that's found in the revision booklet. So we can start by saying who's the author. So in this case, the American cartoonist wrote this source. I'll show you all I'll type out the answer for you all to see later. Okay, the American cartoonist drew the cartoon, just now cartoon, because he's trying to convince. Who are we trying to convince? Convince President Trump, because the video was the cartoon was drawn in response to President Trump, to convince President Trump that the government, what's the message? That the government should not restrict immigration. Okay, I know this because the source shows that President Trump had to do manual labor himself after he restricted immigration. This means that immigration is very important to America, or else Americans will end up doing a lot of the manual jobs and the economy might suffer if our workers are used to do manual jobs. By doing so, the cartoonist hopes that President Donald Trump and his government will support immigration into America. Okay, so this is the outcome, so that Americans can go on to do more important work, something like that. So support immigration so that more immigrants come in and Americans it will improve the economy and Americans can do more important work, something like that. Okay, so the context, what was happening, this is because when the source was created, President Donald Trump was trying to limit immigrants from coming to America. So the cartoonist wrote this to try and change his mind and persuade him to take in immigrants because it's very important to the economy. Okay, so this is the rough template. Some of my students, I will suggest to you before you put a context up first, because when you know what was the problem, what was the situation, then you can start to guess what's the message, what's the new outcome. But really, it doesn't really matter. It's really up to you. All right. Okay, I'm going to show you a sample answer now for the purpose answer. Just now I verbally said it. But now I will just type in. Okay. Okay, so this was the answer for, sorry about that. This was the answer for question 1, the question on the inference of the message. I'm just going to tweak this answer a bit to show you how I can make it into an answer for purpose. So I can perhaps say the purpose of this source is to, instead of saying criticize, we want to change Donald Trump's mind, right? Is to convince President Donald Trump, okay, purpose verb here, is to convince President Donald Trump, our author, that it is important to not restrict immigration as doing so will negatively impact. So I have my message here. Okay, so I just delete my previous answer. So the purpose of the source is let's add in the author. Not author, sorry. Donald Trump is the audience. Okay, is for the cartoonist. The cartoonist is the author. Let's add that in. To convince President Donald Trump, purpose verb. Okay. Persuade works as well. President Donald Trump, that it's important to not restrict immigration as doing so will negatively impact the economy. Okay, so sometimes I tell my students after the message, I like to straight away put a new outcome before I give the evidence, because I find it quite important to get it out of the way. The new outcome is President Trump will reverse his policy and support immigration to the US, okay, which will improve the US economy. Okay, so this is my new outcome. You notice I have an action here. Okay, he should take an action and support immigration. I have an action here. I also mentioned some sort of impact, okay, to improve the US economy. Okay, so that is what I meant by new outcome should be an action by the audience, by Donald Trump, and what will you hope to achieve. Okay, evidence in this case, I think it's quite similar, because the evidence is used to usually support the message. Why? Which part of the source tells you we should not use immigration because we mentioned this, Okay, the cartoon is trying to mock press. Okay, instead of saying mock we can say to persuade. Okay, persuade President Trump that his immigration policy is not correct, as he will end up doing this low skill like housekeeping to show the, okay, we want to show this will show that he will also have we don't want to wait low skill jobs. Okay, so this is the explanation. The red part was previously the evidence. Okay, so far nothing out of the ordinary. So we got the most of the Pac-Man done already. We got author, we got the audience, purpose verb, message, new outcome, evidence explained. Okay, if you are up for it, you can also add a context. The cartoonist is trying to do so because President Trump was restricting immigration to the USA when the cartoon was published. And it might already be hurting the economy. So there is usually the context, right? I like to think of it as a problem. Okay, the cartoonist, the author thinks there's some sort of problem. That's why they will want to write or draw or say something to try and persuade people. Okay, so the problem is President Trump is restricting immigration and the economy will be hurting. So therefore, I want to convince President Trump or maybe some other audience, it's up to you, okay, depending on the source. I want to tell him that it's important to not restrict immigration. Remember, message linked to the topic, okay, right at the background, above the background. And I want him to do something, take an action, a new outcome, and achieve a new outcome, improve the US economy. And I support my message with evidence from the source and explain what the evidence means. All right, so this is a sample answer of how a purpose answer may look. It's a bit on the long side, but I'm using this to demonstrate to you the different parts of the answer. If the exam, if you write a bit shorter, as long as I think you hit each of the points, I think you'll be fine. Okay. All right. So this is video 2. It's a bit of a longer video, but thank you for your patience. I'll see you in the next few videos. All right. Bye-bye.